what is to be done in a time of crisis? As I said before, not overreact. And remember all what we have learned in 25 years and all the progress which have been made. And this progress are still there. I mean, the hospital or the schools which have been built, they are there. I mean, the new communication system, they are there. And the new companies, they are not going to disappear. I mean, all the technical progress, all the capital which has been accumulated is still there. So the crisis is not destroying what has been gained. And to change the system would be completely absurd, because really it would be like a kind of collective amnesia. And to close the border, for example, would be completely absurd, because we know that free trade is good. I must say, thank God, that what must be avoided are major mistakes. The mistakes which have been made in 1930 and in the 1970s, and these mistakes are not being repeated. The first mistake, as everybody knows, in the 1930s was to close the borders. And the closing of the border destroyed international commerce and brought down the global economy. This mistake is not being repeated, and this is a remarkable progress of economics as a science. Even if government leaders are not economists by themselves, they tend to listen to economists, and it is remarkable how many times the world leaders have repeated that free trade should be preserved at any cost. And this is absolutely remarkable. It's a huge progress, and this is the reason why this crisis will never resemble the 1930 crisis. The second mistake, which is not being repeated or not yet, is what has been committed in the 1970s, which was inflation. That was before Milton Friedman won the battle of ideas. In the 1970s, confronted to a crisis, many governments, from Japan to France to United States, thought about creating money. The stimulus would repair the economy and everything would be back on track. And it didn't work at all. It only brought hyperinflation and unemployment. This has been called the stagflation crisis. Today, there is kind of a temptation to do that. But if we compare the stimulus which are implemented today with what was implemented in the 1970s, it cannot be compared. And inflation, price stability remain the priority. So government leaders know, following economics science, that inflation should be avoided at any cost. So the second major mistake is not being committed. So everything now which is discussed about, like bailout, regulation, those are political statements which are rather neutral vis-à-vis the economy. I mean, it doesn't, sorry to say, it doesn't make a big difference that you regulate or you don't regulate, that you take over GM or you don't. Those are political statements. They are made for political reasons, which I can understand. But it's so tiny compared to the size of the global economy that it doesn't make a real difference. It doesn't make a real difference. This means that there is the best way for a government in a time of crisis, the best way would be to do nothing. But you can't do that. You can't appear on television and saying, look, I've decided to do absolutely nothing because I'm sure that the market will rebound, that entrepreneurs will adapt, and that innovation will continue. And, you know, my major reason of optimism right now in the United States and also in Europe is by visiting emerging companies inventing new products. I'm quite sure that we'll get out of the crisis not because of stimulus, not because of regulation, but because of new techniques in biotechnology, in nanotechnology, in communication technology, and that, like in the past, it is innovation which will be the real engine of the economy and the real reason why we will get out of this crisis.